What's going on, fellas? I'm your host, Manpreet, aka MMA Lock of the Night, and your boy on Twitter at MMALOTN. It just seems so just ready to go every time I hit that let's stream or record button. But yeah, it's the first live stream that I'm doing on my guy Sal Vetri's channel. Once again, shout out to my guy Sal, bringing me onto the team to do this MMA stuff for you guys, and it's been great. We got one episode in the can so far. Got a really good reception to it. A lot of people seem to enjoy it. We had some guys that were used to be in the MMA world, aren't in the MMA world anymore. And I kind of just give them a little bit of a kick in the butt to be like, yo, I'm here. I'm here to help you guys out as much as I can with my MMA knowledge. So what the stream was really going to be and what it is going to be is a kind of a Q&A. I wanted to kind of introduce myself to the Sal Vetri channel. Just having an edited video out there is great and all, but I do want to have that like personal touch with you guys to be like, yo, what's up? I'm one of the crew. I'm one of the fellows now. And, just take some questions, give you guys a little bit of a background in terms of how I got into the sport, how I got to where I'm at. Just a little bit more, adding a little bit more legitimacy to my name, so I'm not just this schlub that came off the street and be like, hey, I know UFC, I train UFC. I'm not one of those type of guys. You know what I mean? So I want to let a little bit more people rifle into here before I get into my introduction, and then I'll start rifling through the questions and comments. I do also want to put a tweet out in terms of me going live right now too, because I think that would be very helpful to get some more people in here. So let me just retweet that real quick, and we can get the show on the road. All right, we got two questions right off the bat here. About Nora and half away, get her back. Not entirely sure what my guy Tito McHugeNoggin Orteets is saying, though I do like that name. I do definitely like that name. My guy Evan Croll, I've seen you on the chats. This stands for MMA lotion, like the stuff they put on their face. Absolutely not. LOTN, lock of the night. Just they used to do FOTN, fight of the night. They used to do SOTN, submission of the night. They used to do KOTN, knockout of the night. I thought lock of the night just rolls off the tongue, nice and easy. So I wanted to kind of take advantage of that. I think it's a solid acronym, and yeah, that's the one that I definitely see most. Is the MMA lotion. Now, I had some guy the other day. For one of my other streams, I picked Marina Rodriguez, probably my best bet to date for this year. And some guy was ragging on me in the live stream when I was trying to break down my bet. And he's like, if this guy hits this bet, I'll stop calling him MMA lotion. So we haven't had a stream since then yet. I'm hoping that guy shows his face so he can start calling me by my real name, MMA Lotin, or you guys can call me Manpreet. It doesn't matter regardless. So my guy Tito McHugeNoggin Orteets, early February 6th favorites or LFA tomorrow. So I haven't gotten to look into LFA. I focus on the UFC. I do want to stretch out and look at LFA and these other promotions. Just so much on my goddamn plate at the moment. So, I'm currently doing that 9 to 5 grind, but once that's over with, which I believe should be in the next 2 or 3 months, I'll have way more time on my hands, and then I will go through and do a thorough check of these LFA and KSW lines, as I do feel like I can find an edge on those spots as well too. But right now, doing 12 to 15 matchups on a week-to-week basis, you guys know how, if you're into the UFC, you know how crazy the schedule is with a fight pretty much every weekend. Not to mention they're throwing in these COVID, last-minute changes, guys that are dropping out because they test positive or their coaches test positive for COVID. So they got to, find a last-minute replacement. So it's a lot of work to go into, going through every single matchup with a fine-tooth comb to give you guys the best information possible. I mean, a lot of these other like handicappers and YouTube personalities, they'll focus on a couple of fights and then they'll kind of gloss over the rest of them. That's not my style. I want to give you guys as much information I can possibly give you on every single matchup. So if that means, running tape for 20 to 24 hours throughout the week, I got to do it because I want to give you guys as good of a product as possible for sure. All right. Before we go, before we go, I do want to before we get this thing going, I do want to give you guys a little bit of a background about myself. So back in 2010, 2011, I was in college in a music business program, and my roommate was in the sports business program. And at that time, I was already a huge UFC fan. You know, I mean, I came over with the Brock Lesnar stuff way back in '08. I was a big WWE fan, and then once I found out it was fake as shit, and saw the UFC and saw that these guys were doing it for real, I hopped on over, and that's where my love initially began. And then in 2011, I had an opportunity because the UFC opened up offices up here in Canada, specifically Toronto, which is not too far away from me. And the hopes of working for the UFC started building up in my brain. And luckily, my roommate had a seminar that was hosted by the head of PR for Canada for the UFC. The guy gives me his card and he goes, "Yo, just hit him up, see what happens." And luckily for me, this was right before the UFC made their debut in Toronto at that huge Skydome show where they had 55,000 fans, UFC 129, headlined by GSP and Jake Shields. And I got in touch with the guy and they're like, "Yo, we need help. It's unprecedented the amount of media that we're going to be dealing with. So we need some help on the PR front." So I helped those guys out, went to a bunch of different events that they had during that week. And one of them was a media hospitality event where I met some guys at the Score who eventually went on to do the Score Fighting Series. And I helped those guys out as well too. I did a bunch of shows with the UFC from a PR's perspective. And then from there, they chopped down their offices. They didn't have that many people working for them anymore. So my kind of dreams of working in the MMA world kind of went down the drain with that. Then I started doing regional work, regional MMA promotions, working for these guys that are on the up and up, that are just on, like, knocking on the door of the UFC. But getting MMA shows off the ground here in Ontario were so difficult to do. I mean, not a lot of money to be made. If anything, most of these promotions were losing money. So they're just putting on shows to get these guys to the UFC because no other promotion in Canada wanted to pay these guys to come out from Ontario to Quebec or to BC or wherever the fuck. So these guys were just not getting fights. So we did our best to put on a couple of shows. I put on 2 shows myself as a logistics manager. And then I ended up working at an MMA gym, helped manage a couple fighters, cornered a couple amateur fighters. I've just been around the game for over 11, 12 years now. And just over the last 3.5 years, I really started taking my betting and my gambling seriously. And now I found this niche where that I can just settle, be my own boss for the most part, then go out and, do some outsourcing work for guys like Sal and Odds and these other channels. And it's been great. The fanfare has been amazing. The amount of love that I've been getting from everybody, and, from the chat to the following, to the Instagram, to the YouTubes, all that shit. Everybody's been fucking amazing. And it's been great. I've been able to, juice up the studio a little bit more because things are going very, very well on my side. So I want to give a big shout out to everybody that's been supporting your boy since the beginning and have even hopped on in that amount of time. And I hope to have some of you fellas but even if that's just, watching the DFS show that I'm doing for him, that's more than enough for me. Just drop a like on those videos and it will definitely show Sal that you guys appreciate the work that I do and to bring me back on a fight weekly basis. So that's what I'm hoping to do. That's my story. I've been around the game forever and I've definitely seen all aspects of the game, from like the PR side, the UFC side, the regional side, the coaching side, the MMA gym side. I've seen it from everywhere. So I know a thing or two about MMA. And then I eventually put it into the gambling aspect of it, and things have been going great. So I can't really complain there. All right, let's get into the chat. Let's get into this Q&A aspect of the show. I appreciate you guys, as always, hanging out with me and doing this. So to once again, address this early February 6th favorites or LFA tomorrow. I just skimmed over the LFA card. Not any guys that really ring a bell to me. Nobody that I'm very familiar with. So I don't want to give you guys, I don't want to give you guys advice just off the top because I know nothing about these guys. I want to put more time into it. And once I do, then I will confidently give you guys spots there. In terms of early favorites for February 6th, Corey Sandhagen at minus 440 is a little bit crazy. As we've seen, that Frankie Edgar could definitely make fights close as he did in his fight against Pedro Munoz. However, I believe that Corey Sandhagen is just a much different beast than what Pedro Munoz brings to the table. So maybe he is deserving of that minus 440. Cody Stamen, I think, will absolutely wipe the mat with Andre Ewell here, who just, Ewell has a very tough time dealing with guys that are able to take him down, and he has a very tough time in terms of getting back to his feet. And Cody Stamen, Very high level wrestler, solid striker too. So I believe he'll be able to hold his own up there. But I think that that you will definitely get sloshed there. And then another guy that I like is Mike Rodriguez, -235, a little bit juicy, but I don't think very highly of Danilo Marquez. The only guy he was going to go out there and beat was the guy that he beat in his UFC debut was Khadis Ibragimov. So I think those guys definitely roll there. All right, let's keep the questions going. Evan Croll, so that type of statement and slow mic lotion. My guy Evan Croll knows a little bit, a little bit of things. So I'll just say that. Bob McClot 24, appreciate you jumping on the stream, buddy. I really appreciate it. Got to be a little bit professional and make sure I'm then in the right state of mind here to give you guys some solid shit. Man, great bet on Marina. I had Hebus, my surest on the card. Fuck, was I wrong? Yeah, that was a tough one, man. Like, again, we saw how that fight goes if Hebus wins. That first round was all Hebus. We all knew that if she got the fight to the ground, that's exactly how it was going to go. However, I was willing to risk at plus 282, plus 285, whatever that line was, that as long as this fight stays on the feet, Marina Rodriguez is going to completely annihilate Amanda Hebus. And that's exactly what happened. We just need a minute on the feet. And that's exactly what we saw. So thankfully, Marina comes through. Plus that, plus 1350 KO prop. Ooh, that was so good. Ooh, that was so good. Ken Shamrock got you into the UFC. Nice. I remember when they were like touting him as like the most dangerous man in the world and saying that he's the ultimate fighting champion and all that type of shit. That initially didn't get me into it. It was actually the Brock thing that brought me over there for sure. Finesca, great call on Rodriguez, had her in a lot of lineups. Yeah, for sure. I'm glad that I was able to give you guys that as the sneaky player, but I think I'll change the name to the sleepy play as well too. Yeah, no, I thought that was a solid spot. Unfortunately for me, I had my lock lineup in terms of having Connor and Khalil on there. Obviously, those guys shit the bed. Huge night for dogs that night, for sure. Huge night. But I'm hoping that Rodriguez call helped you guys out for sure. James Kane, my guy, Stat Boy, is the king at MMA. Is he? Never heard of that guy before. John Jones or Stylebender? Ooh, nice question. Early thoughts has me thinking Stylebender. You know what I mean? But for me, it depends on how these guys look at the weight classes. Because I don't think we're going to see John Jones back at 205. I think we'll see this fight go, if it happens at all, it's going to happen at heavyweight. And Stylebender is a 185er. So that's interesting. So we know Stylebender is going up for his next fight. I think it's in March. He's going to go up to 205 pounds, formerly where John Jones used to hold the crown, and he's going to go take on Jan Blachowicz. And if he gets past him, I'm sure they'll find a way to make that Jones fight a heavyweight, especially if I believe the plan is Jones will fight the winner of Stipe and Francis, and that fight's happening in April. So maybe end of the year we see Jones versus the winner of that fight, and then maybe early 2022 we see Stylebender versus Jones. But I gotta lean with Stylebender right now. We've seen him kind of challenged in the grappling aspect, but he does such a good job of getting back to his feet, and we've seen a declining game from John Jones his last couple of fights. Like, just take into consideration Anthony Smith, Dominic Reyes, Thiago Santos, all these guys that went to close fights with John Jones, and then everybody's using those things as selling points as to why they should win their next fight. And what happens? All three of those guys go on to lose their next fights. So I think John Jones is declining a little bit. I'm interested to see how he does with another, 30, 40 pounds on him, and what kind of approach he takes fighting these bigger guys. So right now, as of today, January 2021, I'm gonna sit with Mr. with Stylebender. Tito, how did you meet Saftik? So Saftik I met 9 years ago, I want to say 8 or 9 years ago, when I was working for that company where we did the regional fight, Substance Cage Combat. He actually was the matchmaker for us. So he worked in the same office as the guy that was running the show. So I would usually come there maybe once or twice a week to just have meetings and talk about the show and all that shit. And Cody would be there. So obviously Cody, you guys know, works at the Fight Network, and that's where my boss at the time, that's where he had his office as well too. So I was going in, and me and Cody would just say what up to each other, and that's how we initially came to know each other, through Substance Cage Combat, and we've just kept in touch ever since. Solid matchmaker. Cody, he's a good handicapper too, but he's a very good matchmaker too. The guy keeps his finger on the pulse when it comes to these prospects and these up and comers, so he knows what the fuck he's talking about. Tito is saying, and the Odd Squad Guru got me here to you guys. Nice. The Odd Squad, they reached out to me initially. They were reshuffling that Friday show a little bit. They had DFS go over to that other platform, and they're looking for somebody to replace him. And I got a bunch of the guys that were on the Odd Squad. We got Clint, Cody, and a couple of these other guys that were giving my name as a referral. And I took them up on the offer, and I would not change the decision at all. The guys over there are fantastic. I love doing that Friday show with them, and then obviously that Thursday prop show that me and Cody do. I was just trying to find something that I could do with Cody, because me and him have such good chemistry, and you could definitely see it on that show, which is why I was happy to do that show. Once I pitched it to the guys, they were happy to do it, and me and Cody have just been flying since, so it's been great for sure. Evan Croll, Ewell has a 10-inch reach advantage. Punch him across the cage, right? Yeah, exactly. I don't know what you can really do with 10 and a half inches of reach if you can't stop takedowns. Let's just put it that way. Evan Croll is saying harness racing, track handicapping horses. As you guys know, Cody Softic obviously has his hands in the horses as well too. And feel on the Askren Paul fight. My gut, like right off the bat, is saying that Jake Paul wins that fight. And I hate to say that as an MMA guy. Like, I want to be team MMA, but if you guys know anything about Ben Askren, and if you watch his fights, the guy has horrible striking. Absolute dog shit striking. It's not good at all. His main game is wrestling. That's how he got to, the level of fame and level of accomplishments that he's gotten, is because he's able to walk through these shots, take these guys down, and then just do his work from on top. So obviously, no takedowns in boxing. How he deals with the striking of Jake Paul, who, say what you want about the guy. The guy's been taking it seriously for the last couple of years. So he's definitely learned a thing or two. Whereas Ben Askren has retired. Who knows if he's even been hitting pads. This is a very solid strategic move on the Jake Paul side to be like, I beat an MMA guy. Now, things get a little bit interesting, though, if Jake Paul throws everything he has at Ben Askren in those first couple rounds. It's an 8-round fight. If he throws everything at him in those first couple rounds and gasses himself out, Ben Askren is durable as hell. He should be able to maybe survive. And if he survives, I'd be interested to see how those last 4 to 8 rounds, or 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8 rounds pan out. With that said, I'm not laying any money on this fight. I'm not. I'm not. I just can't see it. Salvatore is in the house. Shout out, my brother. I appreciate you bringing me on to do this. Call me Lock of the Night. You got this. You got this. I do got this. Appreciate it. Does Volkov beat Overeem inside of 5, or does it go to the scorecards? Ooh, that's an interesting fight. So I haven't actually gotten into this fight particularly yet. I've gone through about 4 or 5 fights so far. I just finished one up right before hitting live on the stream. But that's a very interesting fight, man. Like, Overeem, a lot of people are overlooking him as of late just because his chin issues. And the last time he got knocked out was Jairzinho Rozenstruik, right? That was December of 2019. So it's been a little while since he's distanced himself from that loss. And I think that there's a lot of hype on Volkov right now because of how easily he dismantled Walt Harris in his last fight. Let's not forget, Overeem 2 fights ago did the exact same thing, if not worse, to Walt Harris. I think this fight finishes inside of 5 rounds. Do I think Volkov wins? I don't know. I'm a little bit, I'm still looking into that fight. I want to find an edge there. My pre-tape lean is definitely playing Overeem here. Plus 150. I think that's a decent line, but I got to do the work first. So wait for my own podcast, and then obviously wait for me to drop the DFS podcast here for my guy Sal before you guys run home and run to your betting windows, betting Volkov here. But I think it has a solid chance of ending inside the distance. The one aspect I can see if this fight does end up going 5 rounds is if Overeem goes with the takedown game plan, just taking down Volkov over and over again and just laying on top of him, landing an elbow every now and then. I don't think he'll finish him that way. And let's not forget the last time we saw Volkov absolutely smashed was by one Curtis Blades, who is now one of the main training partners of Alistair Overeem. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Overeem go in there and try to implement the same type of game plan. He has very underrated wrestling because he's mainly known as a striker, but the guy has solid wrestling, solid takedowns, and has a good jiu-jitsu game as well too. Yeah, so I like Overeem, and that's the only reason I could see it going to a decision. What are the odds for this? Fight goes to decision is plus 260. Fight doesn't go to decision is minus 350. Whoa, it's a tough one. Volkov is durable as hell if he's getting grinded out on the ground, and I can absolutely see that as being an approach for Mr. Alistair Overeem. Appreciate the question. Marcus Williams, shout out to Marcus Williams. I'll always praise this dude. Probably one of my first ever followers when I started my YouTube page, started my Twitter. Marcus Williams was the guy that's there. He says, I don't like John Jones moving up to heavyweight. I wish he held on to the 205 title longer to see if Adesanya would fight him. Good show, Nubian Bookstore. Shout out to the Nubian Bookstore. If you guys are in the Georgia, Atlanta region, that's where my guy owns a very successful bookstore. Make sure you guys go check him out. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as him. I wish that John Jones stayed at 205. It's funny because they're just dogging each other so much and just dicking around and be like, all right, come to 205. Oh, do it at heavyweight. Like they just kept poking at each other, and then Jones makes the decision. I'm going to gradually move myself up to heavyweights. And that's what he's done. And after he made that decision, Adesanya goes out there, beats Paulo Costa, and then declares, okay, I'm going up to 205 now. So I just don't like this cat and mouse game that's going on between the guys, especially because they're probably two of the greatest fighters of all time. You know, Adesanya still has a little bit of work to do to really iron out that resume, but Jones obviously can claim that as he's been around forever now. But I wish we saw the fight at 205. I think that putting on that amount of weight for Israel Adesanya is going to be a little bit of a detriment, but I want to see how Jones does first at heavyweight. I don't think it's a complete foregone conclusion that we see Jones win the title if he goes to heavyweight, because maybe that, adding that weight just takes that much more weight from his game. And, who knows? Maybe he fights fucking Francis. And Francis, we know that with that guy technically not the best fighter out there, but if he just lands one of those lunch pills on your head, you're probably going to sleep. So that's why I don't like betting Francis Ngannou fights anymore. The guy just hits like a brick shit house, and all logic goes out the window if one of those punches lands. So you can break down the fight as much as you want, look at the fight as much as you want. Nothing changes in terms of Francis being able to go in there and put your lights out. The only guys to stand up to it thus far, Mr. Stipe Miocic, way back at UFC 220, who ate everything Francis gave to him and then eventually beat him by decision. And then Derek Lewis, who in that fight, obviously, we just did not see them throw or strike, and it was more of a staring match than it was anything. So, yeah. Shout out again, Marcus Williams. I appreciate you, buddy. Tito, nice. It's been awesome. Been watching you and Cody Thursday and Friday Squad on Friday. Yeah, I'm glad that you're along for the ride, buddy. I'm hoping this Sal thing is another. Well, I'm not hoping. I know it is. I know it's another venture for me and another chapter in my book. And yeah, I just appreciate him for giving me this platform. Tito, so you're doing the new Lock of the Night Challenge next week. I hope I didn't get in on the first time. So I'll just quickly plug that. So the Lock of the Night Challenge actually started up last week, and that's a 6-month challenge. We have a $500 pool that obviously stretches it to a full year. But the next week actually is going to be starting the Dog of the Night Challenge, which is you pick 1+ money underdog or 1+ odds over under for every single card for 10 cards. Whoever makes most profit wins that. So it's not the Lock of the Night Challenge, it's the Dog of the Night Challenge. So just follow me on Twitter. I'll be putting out some more call outs and casting calls for it. And you guys can sign up that way. So yeah, shout out to Tito for bringing that up. Tito says, yeah, I like Overeem on any over. Yeah, for sure. Overeem shows up and goes for takedowns now in his career. Hard against Volkov, though. Volkov doesn't seem to have the greatest takedown defense. That's my concern here. And the fact that Overeem is putting in good work with Curtis Blades and that team over there in Denver, I like what we have in Overeem as a dog. But again, I want to do the tape. I want to do my due diligence before I go out there and be like, Overeem. This is all pre-tape. This is all pre-search, as I like to call it. But I do like Overeem for sure. Killer G, another solid supporter of mine. What's up, Locke? Excited for the People's Main Event in Dariush and Fajeda next weekend. Yeah, that's a great fight. Before I begin my rant on that, let me wet my beak real quick. Interesting. Let me get rid of this cap. All right. Yeah, Fajeda versus Dariush is a great fight. Obviously, this is a a rematch, I should say, from their fight in 2014 at UFC 179. And Dariush was the one that got his hand raised that night, but we've seen massive amounts of improvements from both guys. I think a little bit more improvements from Fajeda. And I think I like that pick'em line as well too. I think Fajeda is a solid spot next weekend. Dariush's been taking a ton of damage. Seems to just throw caution to the wind at this point in time. Doesn't mind getting in firefights, and I think that will be a very bad move for him to bring that type of game plan here against Diego Ferreira, who should be able to go out there, outpace him, out pressure him. And again, I like to call him Fortis Fajeda now. Since joining Fortis MMA, the guy has looked completely different. Obviously, his first fight was against Dustin Poirier with Fortis MMA, and that was a very, very tough stylistic matchup. But since then, I think he's put together 6 straight fights, 6 straight wins, and he's looked better every single fight. So definitely like what we're seeing from Fajeda nowadays. Tito, Yan versus Sterling. At first, I was leaning Yan, but I really like Aljo. He's looking real good. He leans his chin way out there, though. Yeah, that's a tough fight, man. That's a tough fight because you got a very high level specialist in the striking realm, then you have a very high level specialist in the grappling realm, and this is like the epitome of a striker versus grappler matchup. And like it's been interesting to see the progression of Sterling as well too, who used to be that guy out there, who would just throw spinning shit and throw flashy kicks and all that, and not really pursue the takedown in his grappling as much as he should have. And now here we see him doing that. And he didn't hide it at all against Corey Sandhagen in his last fight, where he just took the back immediately and then eventually got that rear naked choke. Is he going to be able to do that to Petr Yan? I think if this fight finishes early, it's a Sterling fight. If this fight goes later, maybe past the second round, I think we see Yan start to pull away in terms of being able to stay away from the grappling of Sterling and then just letting him up on the feet with the strikes. The guy is a mean Muay Thai specialist. Mean. The guy is so good. I love Petr Yan. I think he's a very high level fighter. Personally, I think I'll be staying away from that fight in terms of a betting perspective. Obviously, you guys want my pick. I can't give you an official pick until I run the tape myself, but just off of memory, man, it's a very close and tight fight. I'd be very intrigued to see how that one goes down. My guy Evan Croll is saying that it's a small cage, so that definitely has to help the grappler here, who is Aljamain Sterling. So he has less room, or at least Yan has less room to get out of the way. So I lean Yan right now, but I got to run the tape myself too. Very, very intriguing fight. Very, very intriguing fight. Tito loves himself some Dariush. I love myself some Dariush. Fajeda throws nonstop, though. Hard to pick against him. Yeah. I put the statistic out there. He averages 283 strikes thrown per 15-minute fight that he's had since coming into the UFC, or since his Dustin Poirier fight. So that's 3 fights where he's thrown over 280 strikes. Absolutely insane. Even in his Jared Gordon fight, he threw 60 strikes in 1 minute and 58 seconds, which is all it took for him to finish Jared Gordon that night. But just shows you the type of work and the type of discipline that Saif Sayud over there at Fortis MMA instills in his fighters, and he looks absolutely amazing since then. So I hope he's able to kind of parlay this win streak together, get a big win over Dariush, and start working towards getting a title shot or something, because the guy's 36, and that's a little bit of my concern here, is the fact that he's getting up there in age. However, at 36, I still think he can still go out there and perform to the best of his abilities and get his hand raised that night. Killer G saying, "What do I got in the cup? Vodka or whiskey?" Nah. You guys know me, Killer G. You're a solid follower of mine. You know I'm not much into the alcohol. I'm into the other shit, but not the alcohol. This strictly water. Strictly water. God, I love you. Evan Croll is saying MMA King or MWG in a 3-round fight. A little bit of an inside Patreon joke right there. Shout out to my guy Evan Croll. I'll go with MWG living that nomad life, but don't tell MMA King, you might get pissed. Moving on, Tito says, a little off topic. What about Ryan Garcia and Manny Pacquiao? Have you thought about that fight? To be honest, This is the first I'm hearing about that fight. Is that a fight that's actually happening? Because I do follow along with boxing to a certain extent, mainly the mainstream stuff. If there's guys or prospects that I've heard about, I'll definitely give them a look. Um, I did work at a boxing gym. It was an MMA gym with an emphasis on boxing. The head coach was a boxer. So I do like to follow boxing from time to time, but this is actually the first time hearing about this matchup. Very tough fight for Pacquiao at this point in time, at his age, obviously declining. How old is freaking Manny Pacquiao now? How old is that guy? Let's see. Google, help me out. Manny Pacquiao is 42 years old, and he's going up against a young, spry kid with a very high ceiling in Ryan Garcia. I'd have to favor Ryan Garcia there. I don't know if Manny Pacquiao would be able to keep up with these young kids if he was to actually take this fight. Crazy fight for sure. Evan Call, no concern on CDF from an age perspective. Not at all, man. Like the guy got a little bit of a later start in MMA. He has a 5-year age, or he's 5 years older than Benio Dariush. But again, we've just been seeing better and better performances from him as of late. Dariush isn't like this crazy young spry pup that's going out there and blasted these guys with his athleticism and his youth. I still lean CDF. 36 isn't that old. You know what I mean? Again, especially a guy that's just coming into his own and really filling out his full potential. I think he has about until like 38, 39 till we start to truly see the slowdown in his game. But like, if you check it out, his IG, the guy looks in phenomenal shape. Again, and his recent performances, I don't know how you can really get to that conclusion that his age is going to start to catch up to him. At 36, I think he's fine. Tito, what do you think about Mayweather, Tyson, Logan Paul talking exhibitions? All exhibitions are a non-watcher for me. Yeah, I'm absolutely there with you as well. It's just money, guys. Yeah, I mean, it's just all about money at this point in time. These YouTubers are definitely getting that fame, or trying to expand their fame while racking up some more stacks, and that's exactly what they're doing. From what I heard, actually, as well, is the Logan Paul and Mayweather fight has been postponed due to lack of interest. I might be off on that. If somebody can fact check that for me, but I did see that somewhere. But I heard, like, I think that's why they started off with that pricing package where they had, like, okay, if you bought it in the first week, you pay $25. If you buy it from this time to this time, it's $35, and it would go all the way to the fight time where you would have to pay $65 if you're one of those late purchasers. And maybe they just didn't get enough love right off the bat. So yeah. I'm not a fan of the exhibition matches. I didn't watch the Tyson and Jones fights. I wish I smacked myself in the head and be like, just bet the draw. You know what I mean? This is an exhibition. They're saying they're going to go kill each other, but they're not allowed to knock each other down. Who really wants to come away from this to be like, okay, I was the winner? I mean, the draw was definitely the spot there. But again, hindsight is 2020. Yeah, exhibitions are definitely a no-go for me. I'll watch. I say this with like complete disdain in my mouth. I'll probably watch the Logan or the Jake Paul and Ben Askren fight because it is a legitimate fight. It's a pro boxing fight, so there are actual stakes online here. But yeah, that's what they want. They want you to watch it. They want you to get interested in it. Ugh, I'm so disgusted with myself. I feel like I'm just sitting in a pile of crap right now by saying that. Tito is saying, yeah, man, that fight is in the works. Yeah, he's talking about Garcia and Pacquiao. That's insane that Pacquiao would come back and fight a guy like that. Absolutely insane. Dope Heathen is saying, isn't he a mayor or something now too? I'm assuming that you're talking about Pacquiao. This guy is everything over there in the Philippines. If I'm not mistaken, he like owned a basketball team and played for the basketball team as well too. So he's pulling like some semi-pro shit over there. Fucking hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. But yeah, at 42 years old, you shouldn't be fighting a young up-and-comer like Ryan Garcia, who could absolutely make it very, very tough for him. Camron Burke is saying GSP in his prime or a Khabib. Ooh, I gotta go with GSP, as I feel like we see a much better understanding of the striking game from him, a much better overall MMA game, I should say. Khabib just rushes forward, and that's enough for his opponents to be like, shit, I'm not going to be able to stop this guy's takedowns, and this guy's just going to smash me to hell. Whereas GSP, he's going to have the size advantage. He's a much bigger dude, and his wrestling game is on point itself. Great jab from GSP, great striking game. I think he could do enough to kind of keep Khabib on the outside and kind of nullify the takedowns that are coming his way. So I got to go with GSP there. And that's not because I'm Canadian. I swear to God. I'm a big Khabib fan as well, too. But I think GSP in his prime beats Khabib. Tito, do you think Vettori could be middleweight champ? I've been betting that guy every fight, really getting a lot better. Yeah, that's another guy that I find it hard to get a pulse on the guy for some reason. Like, I can't remember if I picked him or Hermanson last time around, but I just haven't been betting his fights. He shows improvements on a fight-to-fight basis, which is great. But yeah, he shows fight, but like his game is weird. It's all striking, it's moving forward, landing the big bombs, landing the big shots. But if he was to do that type of game plan against a guy like Israel Adesanya, I think he'd get picked apart. You know what I mean? So it depends on the level of opposition that we're talking about for Marvin Vettori here. So let me just pull up the UFC rankings real quick because I do want to see like who he could actually beat if he were to make a little bit of a run. So let's just talk about the guys that are ahead of him at this point in time. Marvin Vettori is number 5, so he's cracked the top 5. I believe he is scheduled to fight Darren Till next, which is a great fight, which should give us better understanding of where he truly is, because I think Darren Till on the feet could match his pace, pressure, and striking skills. So if he can pass Darren Till, I think he has a really solid shot of really making it up to the middleweight crown. And then again, we got to see what's going on with Adesanya, because he's fighting for that light heavyweight belt. If he wins it, is he going to vacate the middleweight strap? From my understanding, he wants to hold on to the middleweight and the light heavyweight and then fight John Jones for the heavyweight. And he wants to become the first ever triple champion in the UFC's history, which it's getting a little out of hand, guys. Like, come on, let's bring some normalcy back to the table. Let's have these guys fight in their divisions. Even Jan Blachowicz, like, I wish he fought a couple more guys. Like, give Glover Teixeira the title shot. Glover deserves the title shot considering the run that he's on right now, right? And Jan Blachowicz wins the title and right away gets a super fight. I'm not behind that stuff. But in terms of Marvin Vettori, could beat Darren Till, could beat Jared Cannonier. I'd be interested to see how he matches up against Paulo Costa and Robert Whittaker. So again, I think this Darren Till fight will definitely tell us a lot about where Marvin Vettori is, as I feel like it's the toughest test he had. Jack Hermansson just had nothing for him on the feet. Darren Till will absolutely have something for him on the feet, but I want to see how that fight plays out before I truly try to put a stock on where Marvin Vettori is. Evan Croll, bounce back on MMA or Lock of the Night, continue grinding and training. I appreciate the love, Evan Croll. Trust me. I know you're one of those Patreon guys. I really appreciate it. Lock of the Night plays have been on a little bit of a stinker as of late. Even though I got my Marina Rodriguez call last week, I still had a bit of a stinker of a week on my Lock of the Night plays. 0-3 in the last 3 Lock of the Night plays. The next one, though, I'm very, very confident in. I love this spot, and I will be sharing that for free the day before the fights. Obviously, if you want to get them right now, it's on the Patreon. If you guys want to head up to Patreon. All right, let's keep things moving along. Marcus Williams, that has Weili Zhang been booked for another fight? We are slowly creeping up on 1 year since her last fight. Yes, he is on the money right there. I believe the last time we saw Weili Zhang compete was against Ioana Jędrzejczyk in March of last year at UFC 248. I believe it was the co-main event to Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero, and she had an absolutely amazing fight there that night. She hasn't been booked. From my understanding, she hasn't been booked. From my understanding is they want to book her against Rose Namajunas, and I believe that Rose is trying to hold out to get a little bit higher of a paycheck. And I believe if they can't come to terms with Rose, they're going to go with Carla Esparza as the next out for Weili Zhang. And I just do not like that matchup at all for Carla Esparza. I think that we'll see Weili Zhang retain there. Prabjap Singh, Kichke, what's up, buddy? Appreciate you hopping on the stream. Tito, what about Manuel Cape? People are talking about him like he's an automatic title contender. Yeah, I've heard the same thing, but I haven't done the research on that fight yet. That will be done in the next couple of days. But yeah, I'm interested to see it because there's a ton of hype on him. And the fact that he's at the odds that he's currently at against a guy like Alexandre Pantoja should tell you what all you really need to know. We got minus 135 on Pantoja, plus 115 on Coppin. And I think that that line is starting to move towards Pantoja a little bit more. But yeah, Pantoja is no joke. So to have that close of odds with Pantoja must mean that you are somewhat good. So I can't give you my thoughts on him yet. I just haven't run the tape yet. But once I do, you guys will hear from me. Trust me. Tito, man, Vettori will kill Darren Till. He'd take him down and pound him through the floor. Interesting. That's a very strong take. I'm not writing off Darren Till yet. I did bet against him with Robert Whittaker, as I felt that was a great matchup for Whittaker. But here against Vittori, I'm interested to see how that pans out. Camron Burke, champs most likely to give up their belt this year. I always like this game. Shout out Camron Burke. Shout out Camron Burke. Let me pull up the champs for you guys real quick. All right, let's start off at the bottom. Flyweight, Davison Figueiredo. Do I think he retains his title in 2021, I should say? Ooh. The fight with Moreno was very close. Still ended up still could have won. Well, I believe he got a point taken away in that fight as well, too, if I'm not mistaken. So he probably should have won that fight. There doesn't seem like much other guys that could give him many problems. My dark horse in the flyweight division is Raulian Paiva. Now, he has lost to Kai Kara-France in the UFC, but if you go back and watch that fight, absolute robbery. That fight was in Australia, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, Raulian Paiva definitely got robbed there. But I think Raulian Paiva is a huge dark horse in that division. So keep an eye on him. But does Davison Figueiredo retain? I think he retains this year. I just don't think it's I think it's because Raulian Paiva won't get a title shot by then. So Davison secures. Piotr Yan, pre-tape, I think he beats Aljamain Sterling, so I think he retains. Volkanovski, this is a tough one now because you got guys like Zabit Magomedsharipov, and then you got Max Holloway, who just had a performance of the lifetime about 2 weeks ago. Ooh, that's a tough one too. But I'm going to say Volkanovski retains. The Ortega fight is an interesting one because we're seeing all these tools from him and from a striking aspect now, where he was just mainly known as a jiu-jitsu guy, but I don't expect to see him go out there and outstrike a guy like Volkanovski. So I'm going to say Volkanovski retains. Obviously, Khabib retired now, so that's one new champion that we're going to see here. Kamaru Usman, I don't think anybody beats him outside of Colby Covington and Gilbert Burns, but I still think he gets the better of both those guys, so I think Usman retains. Adesanya, I think we see him beat Jan Blachowicz and go up to light heavyweight and stay up there. So I think we'll probably see another middleweight champion. So that's two. I think Adesanya beats Blachowicz, so we get a new champion at light heavyweight. That's three. Stipe Miocic, I think he loses in one of his next two fights, whether it's Francis or Jones. So I'll say heavyweight. That's four. Moving on to the women's, I don't think anybody beats Wiley at 115. I don't think anybody beats Valentina. Oh, I lied. I think Tatiana Suarez is well, it's no secret. Everybody knows that she's Tatiana Nurmagomedova Suarez, and for a reason. The girl is an absolute beast. She just needs to get more active. Apparently, she has a neck or spine issue, which has kept her out for as long as she's been out. But I think if she gets a title shot in 2021, the title will change. But I don't think it is. I think we're going to see her fight at least one or two more times, hopefully this year, and then eventually get the title shot. So in 2021, I think she keeps the strap. Flyweight, nobody's beating Valentina Shevchenko. And then bantamweight, nobody's beating Nunes. I don't think anybody, like in the top 15, just scanning it over, there doesn't seem like a legitimate threat to her. And then obviously featherweight, we don't even have a fucking featherweight division. So I think 4 champions give up their belt this year. And that's including Izzy moving up and Khabib retiring. All right. Tito, yeah, I had these 2 division guys. I hate these 2 division guys. Too many guys are deserving of their shot. Instead, they're all exactly. Connor did it with lightweight and featherweight. Izzy's doing it now too. At least he cleared out the middleweight division a bit. It's all about light heavyweight kind of clearing out the division now before we give these guys super fights. Killer G, imagine the scenes when Glover ground and pounds Adesanya to win the light heavyweight title. Dude, I don't know if they'll even give Glover the title shot if Adesanya wins, because I think Adesanya is going to parlay that into a heavyweight title shot. But yeah, give Glover a shot. The guy's not getting any younger. Come on. I do love Tucking MMA. Good to see you doing more streams for sure. This Q&A stream is a little bit more of a one and done type of thing. My regular streams are obviously the Thursday with odds, Friday with odds, Saturday on my own channel, but I'll give you guys a little bit of a tidbit. Nobody knows this yet, but there might be some interesting changes coming to my Saturday stream, but they will more than likely be announced in the next couple of days. Really looking forward to that. Hope you guys stay tuned, and just follow me on Twitter at MMALOTN to get that information. All right, keeping it going. Tito, I feel like me and you have a conversation, dude. I appreciate you dropping all the questions. Let's keep it going. Do you think Clarissa Shields and Kayla Harrison will be in the UFC by the end of this year? No. I think Kayla Harrison maybe. Clarissa Shields, we need to see her have a couple fights, at least get a year and a half in on like the PFL circuit before you come over to the UFC. I don't know what division she's fighting at either. So if you guys could let me know that, that would help me actually determine this a little bit better. But yeah, I think Kayla could have um could have uh Waleed Raid, have you ever picked or bet a woman's title fight wrong? Title fight. The last one that I believe I've bet on was Amanda Nunes to beat Jermaine Durandamy. And obviously that one came through. I think that's about it. Interesting question. Appreciate the question, though. We got about 15 minutes left in here, but I'm more than open for all these questions. Keep hitting me, guys. Tito is saying John Jones has never felt power like Ngannou. Correct. And the way Ngannou has been training, I hope his cardio has reached another level. If so, John is a dead man. I do not believe we'll see Francis Ngannou ever have better cardio. I think his cardio will last and his power will last 7.5 minutes tops. I'm giving him 7.5 minutes. His cardio is not going to get better. The guy is just too big, carries too much power, too much muscle. His cardio is just not going to be good. Call me Touch CMT. Who's the worst UFC fighter? Is it Vinicius Moreira or is it Vinicius Moreira? It might be Danilo Marquez. I believe we've seen Moreira get a victory in the UFC. Is that correct? I do want to correct myself if Moreira actually did get a victory in the UFC. Mammoth. Let's see. Does this guy have any wins in the UFC? He beat John Allen on the Contender Series. So that's almost the UFC. John Allen in the UFC now, too. It could be Vinicius Moreira, but it could absolutely be Danilo Marquez as well, too. But again, the only guy worse than him is Khadisi Bragimov. Given that Vinicius Moreira just dropped his 4th straight UFC fight, he's probably getting the boot. So we won't see Moreira against Marquez. But maybe on the regional scene, we'll be able to see that fight get put together to see who the worst fighter ever is. But yeah. Tito, what do you do when there is no fights? Prepare for the next set of fights because this UFC schedule just keeps going on. We got 42 to 46 fights a year. It's never-ending revolving door of fights. Yeah, like I took full advantage of that 3 weeks off in terms of just getting my mind right. If you guys remember, we had a UFC event every weekend from like the middle of July all the way to December 19th. There's a fight every single week in 25 straight events. So the wife definitely was not a fan of that, but your boy had to put in the work. So whenever I do get these off weeks like this weekend, I try to get out of the schedule. So that's exactly what I'm doing. There's always fights to watch, always research to be done and content to be made. Tito, yeah, man, you're a great dude. I appreciate your insight. I appreciate you, buddy. I really, really do. Camron Burke, do you focus on more on parlays or straight bets when building a betting card? I'm not as much of a fan of parlays as much as I used to be. At most now, like I'll try to throw maybe 1 parlay, max 2. Like you'll probably never ever see me have more than 2 parlays on a card. But the way that I kind of like to structure them is if I have a favorite, say around like minus 140, minus 145, and previously they were in like the minus 110, minus 120 range, and I'm kind of bummed that I missed that line. I'll parlay them with something that I feel like has a pretty sure bet or a sure shot of hitting, which is probably in the minus 250 to minus 350 range. I'll throw those 2 in a parlay together. Every now and then you'll see me parlay maybe 2 minus 200s or a minus 200 and a minus 300. I try to downplay parlays as much as possible. Like I feel like you'll get the best advantage if you just take straight bets at solid lines. That's kind of my approach here. Yeah, man, what do you think about betting parlays? What do you do? Yeah, it's like I have my degenerate parlays, which are like I'll throw a couple props together and put like $5-10 on them. Those are never serious money, just lunch money bets on outrageous parlays. Just because like the way that I look at it is like it's almost our lottery compared to rather like going out there and playing random numbers where you have absolutely no control over and you know nothing about either number. Like every number has the same amount of chances of showing up as another number. Whereas with betting, on MMA specifically, you know what the variables are. So yeah, I'm going to put together a Marina Rodriguez plus 1350 by KO parlay with something else that has crazy odds because I know that there's a solid chance of those things hitting. So that's what I mean with building, like, I call them unofficial parlays. I build small degenerate parlays like that. But in terms of official bets, where like my actual money goes, my serious money goes, I don't bet parlays too heavily. It's rare that you'll see me put together like a lock of the night play, for example. That is a parlay. It happens every now and then when I'm just not finding a line and a spot that I feel is deserving of a lock of the night play. But then when you have two solid favorites that you truly believe win 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 times, and the odds reflect that, I don't mind parlaying those guys. Waleed Raid, once again, do you like Trevin Jones as the underdog versus Randy Costa? Jones has great takedown defense and has great takedowns and has never been finished. I got to look into Trevin Jones a little bit. I know he's experienced on that PXC scene, if I'm not mistaken, which is like a Guam promotion. Has a belt down there. Obviously comes in and springs the upset over Tamir Valiev. And Randy Costa is a guy that I did fade last time around when I took Jordy Newsom at slight favorite odds. But Randy Costa showed some solid improvements there. I mean, the guy has power in both of his, in all limbs, solid head kicks, solid punches. My qualm with him was that we've never really seen him, or when he does get pushed to like the second round, he tends to fade. He's a one-round fighter, or at least I thought so. I mean, he's the guy that goes out there, he's able to put the power on you, put the pressure on you, and knock you out. And now the fact that he's with the American Top Team is definitely going to help him round out his game. So I'm interested in looking at that. What are the odds for that fight? Jones plus 165. Okay. If you guys have been watching me for a while, you guys know that I tend to favor grapplers over strikers. Journey Newsom was a grappler over a striker, still got knocked out, but I got to see what Trevin Jones brings to the table before I can truly be confident in playing him there. Tito, if I say yeah, man, too much, it's probably because of Guru. Shout out to my guy, MMA Prediction Guru. Love doing the show with him every Friday night. Camron Burke, more stake in daily fantasy or betting during fight nights? Definitely betting. I'm heavier on the betting side. DFS has been great. You know, I mean, I tend to focus more on like head-to-heads and 50-50s when I'm talking about DFS stuff. I think GPPs are just so hard to take down. You know, I mean, like all praise to those guys that are able to put together like 150 lineups. I can't do that shit. You know, I mean, for me, it's like 15 to 20 lineups max. And that's about it. Like I put more stake and more money definitely into the betting side, as I feel like I have a better edge over there. But daily fantasy, as I continue to get more comfortable with it, like I've been playing DFS for maybe the last 2 years, but I've only really been taking it seriously over the last maybe month, 2 months, 3 months max now. Obviously, given the weird UFC schedule that we've had as of late. But yeah, definitely betting for me. But I am going to start to get into DFS more and more, and maybe start shifting the stake more so to the DFS side as I get more comfortable over there. Travis Duarte, real quick, your take on Rodriguez with the KO was great. Thanks, dude. I appreciate that. I wish I tipped the round 2 play as well too, because if you guys checked out my Twitter and my IG, I posted the bet slips there, but I did take a small shot on the round 2 prop. I kind of called it to a T. Like, obviously, I expected her to get taken down in that first round, but in that second round is when I expected Rodriguez to get her work going, and it happened. You know, I mean, plus 1900 round 2 prop. If I tipped that too, your boy would be caking it. Well, I played it myself, obviously, but to be able to call a play to that level of precision is insane. Now that I'm thinking about like the last 3 big dogs that I hit, that I got a lot of like solid response for, was obviously this one, Rodriguez KO round 2. Last one was Jake Collier via decision plus 500 was the prop. I believe him as a dog was like plus 150, plus 160, but a lot of people were banging on me for even taking Collier that night because he got knocked out by Tom Aspinall in the fight before that. But called those 2 fights to a T. And even if I stretch it back a little bit further, I believe it was August when I picked Derek Brunson over Edmund Shabazian, called KO, called round 3, plus 2,800 on that round 3, plus 2,200. I can't remember exactly which one. But I don't know what it is with these big dogs. I'm having some good luck in terms of calling it to a T. Hopefully the trend continues and I can bring that heat for the next couple cards. But no pressure, no pressure. Tito, thanks for doing this Q&A, man. This UFC week layoff is going to drive me crazy. So I hope to see you in Softic next Thursday, or maybe if I catch you on a live stream before. Appreciate you hanging out, Tito. I really do. I won't be doing anything until in terms of live streams, not doing any more live streams until next week. I do actually have a couple appearances that I'm doing on Tuesday on one of my buddies' shows, on Wednesday another show, and then obviously Thursday this show for the DFS show comes out. That's when I do my odd stream, as well as Friday odd stream, Saturday my own stream, and then obviously if you guys want to catch my views, early in fight week, I drop my podcast Monday mornings of fight week. So make sure you guys go check that out. If you haven't subscribed on my channel, make sure you guys go do that. MMA LOTN. That's where you guys can find me on Twitter as well. MMA LOTN. So we got just under 5 minutes left here. We'll wrap it up real quick. Killer G, you should have gotten higher odds for 2 KOs in 1 round on Rodriguez. Yeah, Herb Dean almost fucked me. The funny thing is, I started celebrating as soon as Rodriguez started walking away. I'm like, oh, done, right? Done. Like, it didn't even tune into me that Herb Dean didn't even stop that fight. It didn't tune into me. Thankfully, Rodriguez didn't take her foot off the gas and was able to get the stoppage nonetheless. But Hebos was absolutely out of it. Absolutely out of it. Tito is saying I'm signing up to your Dog of the Night challenge. For sure. Hit me up on Twitter, and I'll get you signed up for that for sure. Herb Dean. Oi, yeah. Herb Dean was really making it difficult for a lot of people. Especially that night, man. If I lost that bet, because actually, you know what? I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna backpedal a little bit. That was actually on Marina Rodriguez. Herb Dean, if you watch the replay, he got too close. So yeah, that was his mistake. But he never legitimately put his hands on her to stop the fight. He got close, but he never did. So if anything, that was actually on Marina Rodriguez for stopping and trying to celebrate. But yeah, Herb Dean, don't get that close, dude. Maybe he learned his lesson from that. Camron Burke is saying, is McGregor washed up now? No, I don't think he is. I think that stylistically it was a tough matchup for him to come back to after such a long layoff. Like, this isn't Cowboy Cerrone that you can just go in there and burst this dude right off the bat because Cowboy is a slow starter. Dustin Poirier, the guy's been around. He's had a ton of wars. I didn't think his chin was going to hold up, and McGregor hit him with some solid shots. Just a very tough stylistic matchup. And now another thing is, McGregor almost got a little bit of a, I don't want to call it, like, his rise was almost favored to a certain extent, whereas like handpicked. You go out there, you beat Dustin Poirier, great win. 2013, whenever the hell it was. Then he goes out there and beats Dennis Seaver in a main event, his first ever main event. I might have been second. I think he main evented against Diego Brandao in Dublin. But on Fox Sports, main events against Dennis Seaver in Boston. I was there. I drove down to that shit. Amazing atmosphere. The whole of Ireland came out. It was a great card. And then he gets the Chad Mendes fight. Chad Mendes off a boat, drinking Mai Tais or whatever the fuck he was. Super short notice. Didn't get his cardio in check. And you can definitely see it played a factor for him in that fight. Because if you guys know Chad Mendes, the guy is a legitimate cardio machine. He's able to go out there, put pressure, use wrestling, and just drown these guys. But he was compromised, man. He came in on a short training camp. So McGregor goes out there, survives that first round, knocks him out in the second round. Or I believe it was end of the first round. Jose Aldo one, I'll give to him. Knocks him out in 13 seconds. But how does that fight go the longer that it goes, right? We'll never find out. We're never going to get that Jose Aldo rematch. Eddie Alvarez, very hittable opponent, solid boxing, but Conor McGregor definitely gets the better of him there. The Nate Diaz fight, we see him go out there thinking that he can knock out Nate Diaz, pays for it, gets choked out in the second round. Next fight comes back with a much better game plan and wins via decision. And then obviously the Khabib fight, crazy for not a good stylistic matchup. Comes back against Cowboy. Again, very stylistically a great matchup for him. And now this Dustin Poirier fight, we're seeing much better improvements from Poirier, and it definitely pays off for him this time. So I don't want to call him washed, but I think he's had a really good luck of the draw with some of the matchups that he's had, on his rise. So I'm interested to see what kind of guys he fights now and how he matches up against them. And then I'd be down and be like, okay, is he washed or not? I mean, it depends on who his next fight is. He needs to stay active because that's something that he alluded to, and I will give him some leeway on that, as I do believe you need to stay active when you're fighting guys that have, that have remained as active as Dustin Poirier and as RF and are as high level as a Dustin Poirier as well too. Yeah, Killer G, Herb Dean definitely had some stacks on. He busted a couple parlays there, which probably would have busted either way because he probably had Khalil on it. He probably had Connor on it. So that's another thing. All right, I'll wrap this up on these last two questions here. Shout out to you guys as always. Camron Burke, thoughts on TJ Dillashaw's return to MMA? Yeah, that's a big question mark here, right? He's going to be gone for 3 years now. His main way of winning his fights was like the exact effects of what EPO gives to you, right? Since he won his title against Renan Barão way back when in 2013, I believe it was, or 2014, that was his method. Go out there and out cardio these guys with amazing striking and amazing output. So no EPO this time. Let's see how he fares. I definitely won't be betting on whatever fight he's coming back to because he could definitely come back in shape still. In terms of age, how old is he? I still think he could definitely still be in his prime. He's 34 years old. So he has maybe 3 or 4 years to really get his shit together and try to make another title run. Rat Noble, are you going to start playing some DFS lineups? I do play some DFS lineups. Come on, buddy. I do. I'm taking it seriously. And I'm hoping that the show that I'm doing here on Sal's channel is helping you guys out. All right, last question. Tito, one more. What about O'Malley and Casey Kenny talking about heroin and Megan Anderson? You got to cut. So I'm not going to comment too much on the O'Malley and heroin thing. Like I didn't really get the gist of that when they were going over it. But the Megan Anderson thing, you got to cut Casey Kenny a little bit of slack. Like it was O'Malley's co-host, which is a former fighter, I believe Tim Welch is the guy's name. He's the one that asked him the question. It's not like he unprompted said whatever about Megan Anderson, but you're on a podcast. You think you're in a safe space. You know what I mean? Like saying whatever bros talk about. And for people to be like, oh, that's not how bros talk. Really, guys? Come on. But with the Megan Anderson thing, like maybe he took a little bit step too far by addressing it that way. But he didn't bring it up. Somebody asked him the question, and what is he going to do? Be a bad guest and just shut down that question? And that's not how things work, guys. So you guys gotta cut Casey Kenny a little bit of slack. All right, I'm gonna get up on out of here. Appreciate you guys joining me for the Q&A. Hope it was insightful. Hope it was helpful. Hope you guys got to learn a little bit more about me. That introduction I felt was very, very necessary to give you guys kind of a peek into what my background is, why you guys should listen to me, and why I feel as though I'm a legitimate source for this type of information. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys found it insightful, and I'll see you guys again next week. So my podcast comes out on Monday of fight week. You guys can find it on my channel at MMA LOTN on YouTube. That'll be out on Monday, giving you guys a nice early look at the card that we're getting up. Sometimes it's not the same card by the time Saturday shows up, but at least you guys get a nice little preview on the Monday. And then for this channel, the show will be out on Thursday. I believe Thursday morning or Thursday afternoon, whenever Sal wants to drop it. But that's going to be my target to get these DFS and MMA show out for Sal's channel. All right. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys hit subscribe and like for my guy, Sal. Check me out at MMA LOTN on Twitter, MMA LOTN on YouTube as well, too. Appreciate all of you guys hanging out with me. It was a blast. Maybe I'll do another one of these in the near future on one of these UFC dead weeks, but I enjoyed it. I'm sure you guys did too. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week.